Here we're going to solve by factoring. Okay, first of all, after the equal sign, so on the right side of the equal sign, I should have a 0. Okay, first of all, if it's not a 0, anything that I have there, I gotta move it to the left. Okay, so on the right side of my equal sign, I should have a 0. If it's not a 0, move it to the other side. Don't forget to switch the sign. So my -6, I'm gonna move it. I'm gonna move it as a +6. So that gives me r squared minus 2r minus 15 is equal to 0. Like I said, I need the right side to be 0. Now factoring, remember we used to do this X thing, the diamond thing. I'm looking for two numbers that when I multiply them, I get negative 15. You guys see where I got the negative 15 from. But when I add my numbers, I get negative 2. You guys see where I got the negative 2 from. So again, I'm looking for two numbers that multiplied equals negative 15, added is equal to negative 2. Because they multiply to a negative, I know my signs are different. So let me think of all the products, all the factors of 15. 1 times 15, 3 times 5, right? I'm looking for the numbers that when I add them is equal to negative 2. I know when I add, they have different signs. I basically subtract the values, keep the large sign. I'm really looking at positive 3, negative 5, right? Positive 3, negative 5 multiplied equals negative 15, added equals equals negative 2. Now, remember how we used to factor. Remember we used to factor this as r plus 3 r minus 5, and I'm going to say this is equal to 0. Now, in multiplication, right, because technically the two parentheses means they're being multiplied. In multiplication, if the product is equal to 0, so if I'm multiplying two things and it's equal to 0, one of the parentheses or both have to equal to 0. So I look at the first parentheses, r plus 3. And then I ask myself, what value of r can I use to make the first parentheses equal to 0? What value of r makes that 0? And then I will say, well, negative 3. Okay, because negative 3 plus 3 is 0. Okay. I look at the second parentheses now, r minus 5. And then I ask myself, what value of r will make that parentheses 0? And then we'll say 5. And that's going to be my answer. My answer is going to be negative 3 and 5. That's it. So we're going to factor it. And then I'm going to see what value of the letter, in this case r, make each parentheses equal to 0. Okay, let's take a look at number 34. This minus 4, and I'm going to move it to this side as a plus 4, because I need the right side to be equal to 0. So I have k squared plus 2k minus 8 is equal to 0. So I'm looking at two numbers that multiplied is equal to negative 8. So that means different signs because it equals to negative. But when I add my numbers, I get 2. And we're going to think 4 times a negative 2. So I break my parentheses. I factor this as k plus 4, k minus 2 is equal to 0. And then I start asking myself, what are the values of k that make each parentheses equal to 0? For the first parentheses, I'm going to say negative 4. And for the second parentheses, I'm going to say 2. So those are my solutions, negative 4 and 2. Take a look at question number 35. This positive 2, let me bring it to this other side as a negative 2 because I need the right side to be 0. So I get n squared plus 5n minus 24 is equal to 0. So I'm looking at two numbers that multiplied equals negative 24, but when I add my numbers is equal to 5. And I'm going to say positive 8 and a negative 3. So my factors, when I factor this, I get n plus 8, n minus 3. Now, what values of n will make each parenthesis equal to 0? On the first one, negative 8. For the second parenthesis, 3. Because I'm looking for the values of n that make each parenthesis equal to 0. So there you go, negative 8 and 3. Let's take a look at question number 36. The right side has to equal to 0, so this positive 3. Let me bring it down as a negative 3. So p squared minus 4p minus 32 is equal to 0. I'm looking for two numbers that multiplied equals negative 32, but when I add them is equal to negative 4. And we should get negative 8 with a positive 4. Okay, so I'm able to factor out p minus 8, p plus 4. Think of the values of p that make each parenthesis equal to 0, and you should get 8 and negative 4. Let me zoom out. You guys can see what we did. It's right there.